What's in the tea? Why is the tea green? Baby, the tea look like that little children's Robitussin that your mama used to give you, when you had that real hard cough in your chest. I'm the queen of the jungle. Today, your girl will be reviewing a new Chinese hit show series that was basically developed in the 1800s from a Chinese novel entitled 3 Heroes and 5 Gallants. The story basically opens up about an imperial guard by the name of Zhan Zhao, who takes on a very dangerous quest to uncover a conspiracy that is linked to Prince Xiang. And this conspiracy not only threatens him, but the entire Song dynasty. Within this journey, there are allies that are made, there are enemies that are forged, and martial arts legends come back to life. This series also serves as a classic revival of the wuxia tradition, bringing back heroism, true martial arts, and cinematography to your screens. Episodes 1 through 2 was completely crazy. There was a lot going on, but let's just break it down.
The tea is exceptionally good today.
So the story basically opens up where these individuals are at this place called the Shanbei Inn. Now, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, please forgive me, baby. Just be happy I didn't say the Holiday Inn.
Chillin' at the Holiday Inn.
In walks to the Shanbei Hotel these group of assassins who we later on are known as the Tang sect. Now, do we know who they are? No. Do we know who sent them? No. But all we know is that they are hunting down this secret treasure. And it appears that the Shenyun Manor, who are there present at this time, may have possession of it. Now stay with me, baby, because this is where the scene gets super juicy. There is a little boy that's introduced, right? And it seems as if the Shenyun Manor are protecting and guarding this little boy. And when the Tang sect confronts them about this secret treasure that they're hiding, the story kind of foreshadows that maybe this secret treasure is this little boy.
Oh!
So they began to confront the Shenyun Manor about it. And baby, when I saw that assassin chop that man's arm off, I said, oh, we starting already. Y'all couldn't give me like some type of heads up. Now, while this confrontation is going on, a whole violent fight breaks out, and we are later introduced to the first female lead, Miss Hoi Ling Long. Baby, I love this character. In my notes, I wrote her down as the female general of this. I absolutely love that they made a female lead who was not just a damsel in distress. She was a general, she was witty, she was clever. One of the things that stood out to me the most about episode 1 was the fact that the question becomes, if the Shenyun Manor were guarding this little boy, why did the cameras cut to the scene where the little boy was hiding under the table, and it seemed like someone from the manor comes over to him, draws his sword, and tries to harm him? You say to yourself, well, what was the relationship between the Shenyun Manor and this little boy versus the Tang sect? Who's really the enemy and who's really the ally? Now, the scene gets a little crazy because we begin to see these black markings on the victims from which the Tang sect had killed. What's going on? Are these people creatures? Or was there something within the blades of the swords where these people had these markings? It was just really gross for me. We saw these, cuts on the little boy's arm. He was a mute. He couldn't really speak. He couldn't defend himself. But let me tell y'all something I peeped. If this little boy had really been a mute and someone who could not defend himself, did y'all peep that one scene where he was talking to the dog that was at the pub, and the dog ended up attacking the assassins and the people? I don't know. It was just weird. And the authorities come back, and later on we come to find out that the leading authority who is investigating the case is none other than Ling's fiance, or person she is to be betrothed to. Shou Jitsu? Hopefully I said that right. Strangely enough, the boy ends up running away from Ling. I think it's honestly because with the cuts and everything, you can see that you can kind of have an emotional response to him. Whatever he went through before he met Ling was pretty dangerous, and he probably doesn't have a trust for people. But the problem is he ends up running away and getting captured again. Ling goes back into the pub, and authorities are coming in to investigate the crime scene. She hides in this cellar where she then meets Zhan Zhao. Zhan Zhao is on this quest, but he's very secretive about who he is. Ling is also suspicious as well, and she kind of gives off this masculine presence, so she is known as brother instead of sister. In episode 2, we kind of see that even though they were individuals who felt like they collectively could journey on together, because Ling was so focused on saving the boy, she ends up parting ways with him. Now, things to understand regarding Zhan Zhao's character that were kind of like iffy to me. Even though this man was secretive about his identity and who he was and what journey he was on, we as the audience know that he is on a quest to uncover this conspiracy within the Song Dynasty, right? But him taking the initiative to come back and save Ling and this little boy also showed that he is not only a person who is in the Imperial Guard, but he has a heart for humanity. He has a heart for people. I actually kind of fell in love with his character from the second episode. Ling finally catches up with the little boy and finds that he's been captured. We see 2 envoys. One is a man, one is a female. Let's just talk about the costume budget. I could not stop looking at that girl's, I don't even know the correct term for what you call that, but the minute I saw her outfit, I was like, I have to take that look to like an anime Comic-Con or something like that one of these days, because it was just absolutely majestic and beautiful. I loved it. Yeah. But I digress. We see that these 2 envoys are giving him this kind of medicinal looking tea, basically telling the little boy that, hey, you have to drink your medicine because Granny will get really mad. Who the heck is that? Well, what's in the tea? Why is the tea green? Why is the tea thick? Baby, the tea look like that little children's Robitussin that your mama used to give you, you know, when you had that real hard cough in your chest.
I mean, we still got some more.
Silence. Child, I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to take that thing either. Before Ling can actually interfere, we see that Zhan Zhao actually comes back, makes his presence known. He convinces Ling to run an errand for him, and then he actually ends up saving the boy. Now, the crazy thing about this scene is that we also see that there are some injuries that Zhan Zhao is bringing to the forefront. But not only are there injuries, this guy is severely poisoned. He saves the little boy even with his injuries. Zhan Zhao, Ling, and the little boy who is saved, they kind of go to like this little far off building, and they are developing and trying to have a heart-to-heart with each other. Ling is kind of being open-minded, but still yet keeping a close eye on the little boy. However, even though Zhan Zhao has saved these 2, he still does not feel obligated to reveal his true identity, who he is, and what he's all about. Ling is kind of frustrated because in order for us to help each other, we should be also honest with each other. But Zhan Zhao is too stubborn. He's not really going for it. So Ling and the boy actually end up leaving. And then later on it's found out that the boy actually can talk. However, whatever medicine that the envoys give him and whoever this Granny character is, when he does not drink his tea or his medicine, he can talk. He can act like a normal human being. When he does drink this medicine, it kind of makes him aloof. And it's also revealed that he has been abused and misused for these healing properties that his blood has. Now, with all that being said, the boy ends up convincing Ling that they should actually not part ways with Zhan Zhao. First thing to keep in mind, though Zhan Zhao is a very dangerous man in an Imperial Guard and he seems to have these supernatural martial art qualities, there are people who are after him because he has a journey to unlock this conspiracy theory. And they seem to not really want the boy. They seem to want Zhan Zhao. So Ling kind of steps in to defend him, but the little boy steps in to draw his blood and have Zhan Zhao drink from it. We do see later on that Zhan Zhao actually ends up helping Ling defeat this martial artist who is trying to capture Zhan Zhao. Then the episode leaves off and cuts to episode 3, where we finally meet Granny Han Shui. Was it just me, or did this woman remind y'all of Muriel from Courage the Cowardly Dog?
Say, ah.
I mean, sis was just weird and looked like she smelled like medicinal ointment or some type of concoction of herbs. In episode 3, there are 2 main reveals that we understand. First one is that Granny Han Shui is actually holding the little boy as a vessel for his healing property gift. And also, number 2, Even though Ling, as fearless as she is, stepping in to save the little boy, she is aware that Zhan Zhao and her are only able to hold it down so much. So with that being said, the little boy is actually gaining a little bit of confidence. Not only can he talk, but he is Granny Han Shui's biggest weakness. As he is attempting to save Ling and Zhan Zhao, he threatens himself. He threatens to basically take his own life, and we see that Granny Han Shui tries to, I guess, derail him by saying, well, you think I can't use another vessel? He's like, yeah, you can definitely go ahead and use another vessel, but it's going to take you another 10 to 15 years. Something hit me when he said that. Not only is Granny Han Shui utilizing this little boy, but we understand that there's a greater purpose behind who this little boy is. So you kind of leave off with episode 3 wondering, who is this little boy really to Granny Han Shui? And if Granny is this powerful and is this intimidating and has this many servants who are working up under her, why does she need him so much? Now come close and let's talk about this one little part that I think people miss. The little boy actually ends up going with Granny. Before this little boy left, he went over to Hui Linglong and basically told her that he knew who her real identity was, but was willing to take on her masculine persona and her name. So let me get this straight and let's just back it up. In episode 1, we saw that the little boy was mute, but he could talk to animals, almost like a mind control thing. Episode 2, we see that he has healing properties. Now in episode 3, this little boy can what? Read minds? Who is this little boy? Where does he come from? Where are his parents? I'm gonna be real honest with y'all. He might be the key to this whole conspiracy letter that Zhan Zhao's on a quest for. Later on in episode 3, once the little boy has gone back to the palace, we see that Zhan Zhao and Ling have a heart-to-heart, and Zhan Zhao finally reveals who he is to her. And we also see a flashback of how he became severely injured and poisoned in the first place. The scene kind of cuts to this flashback of him rescuing one of his friends who had first developed the conspiracy and who was the first to kind of ever want to confront it to the Song Dynasty. And we see that even though in Zhan Zhao's attempts to save his friend, with his level of injuries and how severely poisoned he was, he did not get a chance to do that. But as he is dying, he does reveal to Zhan Zhao that if he cannot bring this conspiracy to the dynasty, then he is now putting that responsibility on Zhan Zhao to continue on the quest on his behalf. Now that Zhan Zhao is severely injured and poisoned himself, he is starting to doubt his abilities to carry on his friend's mission. So therefore, in later episode 3, we see that Ling takes on the responsibility to continue on the quest on his behalf. The fear of the conspiracy leaking out to the dynasty only gives way to bringing in more danger. But Ling pretty much accepts the token and accepts the quest despite all that she might face. And we also get a chance to meet another character later on in episode 3 known as Chief Zhang, who was sent from the dynasty to kind of capture Zhan Zhao from leaking out this conspiracy. We see later on that they have a duel. Zhan Zhao ends up winning, but he develops a cunning plan to basically have Ling get a head start on bringing the conspiracy to the capital, which later on leads us off to episode 4, where Ling is now on her journey to the capital to reveal this conspiracy, but her biggest obstacle on the way is her soon-to-be fiance, who is none other than a head official as well for the entire crime regarding Zhan Zhao and this conspiracy. What's so interesting about Jisoo's character is that you can see that he actually really does kind of like Ling, but Ling is just so not interested. And then we finally get to meet my favorite character, none other than Bai Yutang. Now, mind you, even though Bai Yutang is not introduced as Bai Yutang in this episode, he introduces himself as Ding Zhao Hui, which is basically like one of the twin brothers who were infiltrators and making sure that Ling got safely to the capital. He's very charismatic, he's very funny, but he's very meticulous, and he's really not the guy to mess with if you want to be in a fight. In episode 4, we see that he sees Jisoo and Ling in the forest. He finds it very amusing that Jisoo, being as powerful as he is unable to overthrow her or overpower her. So he ends up teaching her techniques on how to fight. And the biggest takeaway that I got from that scene was the fact that Ling was very powerful, but it doesn't matter really how powerful you are. If you're not able to overcome your fears mentally, it'll never be able to project physically or into your reality life. Now, Ling ain't dumb. Even though Bai is a really interesting character, we see that she doesn't really trust him at first. Like, she knows he's up to something, but because he introduces himself as a friend of Zhan Zhao, she trusts that he's able to carry out the mission and lead her back to the capital safe and sound. Bai and Ling develop a plan to save Zhan Zhao from captivity from Chief Zhang, and they end up doing it successfully. But the only problem is that even though they end up saving Zhan Zhao, his injuries seem to kind of overtake him and overpower him. At this point, he is dying. So Bai develops a plan to take him to this city where there is a well-known physician that is able to neutralize the poison that is within Zhan Zhao. Even though the town's physician later on in episode 5, he's able to save Zhan Zhao, Bai seems to have connections with this physician. And we see that they start their journey off to the capital. But the only thing is that on the way, Zhan Zhao wakes up and he's introduced to Bai. But remember, like I told y'all, Bai had introduced himself as Ding and a close friend to Zhan Zhao. But we also see that the minute Zhan Zhao wakes up and he sees Bai, he doesn't recognize him at all. However, even though Bai is the reason why he's alive, there's still no true reason as to who he is and what his intentions are with saving Zhan Zhao.
I got you, homie.
And it just leaves room for the audience to ask more questions about who Bai really is. Later on in episode 5, we do see that Bai ends up taking Zhan Zhao to this little hidden space. When Zhan Zhao wakes up, Bai is nowhere to be found. Episode 5 kind of leaves off with Zhan Zhao's servant or whatever coming to find him, and they realize that the imperial seal that from the capital is missing. So it's up to Zhan Zhao to figure out who this character really is. So far I'm actually really enjoying this story. It's a lot of pieces to the puzzle, but I gotta see it through. I do love Hui Linglong. She's probably my favorite character so far. I love Bai. I love when I'm not able to kind of tell who someone is up front. I like people who have layers that are soon to be revealed. I do like Zhan Zhao, but I think I just have to warm up to his reservedness. However, I do love a stoic man. I do love a hero. I do love a man who's willing to go to great lengths for his people. If you guys have any Chinese culture commentary or advice that you have for me to review these types of stories, let me know in the comments down below as well. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you don't know, I do Chinese and Korean drama reviews on my TikTok, so I'll leave that link down below or my username down below so you guys can check that out. And again, I'll see you guys in my next one. Peace.